The politician who first broke the glass ceiling that had kept women off the presidential tickets has answered criticism about her startling conclusion that Senator Obama is only, quote, in the position he's in because he's a black man by bristling that anybody who, quote, says, let's address reality and the problems we're facing in this world, you're accused of being racist, so you have to shut up. Racism works in two different directions. I really think they're attacking me because I'm white. How's that? Our third story in the countdown. It is not clear who is the they in the follow-up statement from Geraldine Ferraro, the 1984 Democratic nominee for vice president and now a fundraiser and speaker for the Clinton campaign. But among those who criticized her depiction of Senator Obama as some sort of equal opportunity hire in the presidential race was Senator Clinton. Senator Clinton has not fired former Congresswoman Ferraro. Walter Mondale's running mate and the longtime representative from Long Island, New York, made her first remarks in an interview that took place February 28th, 5 days before the Ohio and Texas primaries. These remarks were published only last Friday. She told an L.A. area newspaper, quote, if Obama was a white man, he would not be in this position. And if he was a woman of any color, he would not be in this position. He happens to be very lucky to be who he is, and the country is caught up in the concept. You will recall that last week the Clinton campaign called for and received the removal of Samantha Power, a top foreign policy advisor to Senator Obama, after she had called Senator Clinton a monster in an interview with a newspaper in Scotland. On a conference call this afternoon, Obama strategist David Axelrod saying of Ms. Ferraro, quote, she ought to be removed. There's no other way to send a serious sign that you want to change the tone of the campaign. Senator Obama himself saying in an interview with a Pennsylvania newspaper, quote, I don't think Geraldine Ferraro's comments have any place in our politics or in the Democratic Party. They are divisive. I think anybody who understands the history of this country knows they are patently absurd. And I would expect that the same way those comments don't have a place in my campaign, they shouldn't have a place in Senator Clinton's either. Late this afternoon, Senator Clinton regretting Ms. Ferraro's remark. That's it. Regretting it. No, make that all such remarks from both campaigns. Quoting Senator Clinton, I do not agree with that. It is regrettable that any of our supporters on both sides, because we both had that experience, say things that kind of veer off into the personal. We ought to keep this on the issues. There are differences between us. There are differences between our approaches on health care, on energy, on our experience, on our results that we produced for people. That's what this campaign should be about. You might have thought it ended there. It did not. The Clinton campaign sending out another email in which new campaign manager Maggie Williams tries to make it seem as if Senator Obama has broken a pledge not to respond to personal attacks instead of what he actually did do, which was to promise not to engage in them. Quoting campaign manager Williams, Senator Obama's campaign staff seems to have forgotten his pledge. We have not, and we reject these false, personal, and politically calculated attacks on the eve of a primary. So it's his fault for having cried foul. That email, we should point out, sent 51 minutes after Ms. Ferraro's updated, I really think they're attacking me because I'm white, how's that, comments were first posted to the Daily Breeze website in Torrance, California. Coincidence? Out on the campaign trail, Senator Obama chastising the Clinton campaign for its so-called kitchen sink strategy, specifically for the allegation made by blogger Matt Drudge that unnamed Clinton staffers gave him that photograph of Senator Obama in native Somali clothing.
And when in the midst of a campaign you decide to throw the kitchen sink at your opponent because you're behind, and you start, your campaign starts leaking photographs of me when I'm traveling overseas wearing the native clothes of those folks to make people afraid, and then you run an ad talking about who's going to answer the phone at 3 in the morning, an ad straight out of the Republican playbook. That's not real change.
Senator Clinton on the attack as well in Harrisburg, sticking with the issues that worked for her in neighboring Ohio, NAFTA and energy policy.
In 2005, when we had a chance to say no to Dick Cheney and his energy bill, my opponent said yes and voted for it with all of those tax subsidies and giveaways that have been used by the oil companies and others to retard the development of clean, renewable energy. Really, when you think about what we have to do, it's not going to happen just by asking people. It's not going to happen just by saying, don't we all agree? We're going to have to fight to make the changes against the special interests that dominate Washington.
Time now to bring in our own Howard Fineman, senior Washington correspondent for Newsweek magazine. Howard, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Why did Geraldine Ferraro say what she said? How did she not get fired instantly? Why did she follow up the way she did? Why did she not get fired instantly after that?
Well, because the Clinton campaign doesn't want to change the tone. They just made the kitchen sink bigger and put more things in it. And that's the way this campaign is headed. I've been emailing and talking to the Clinton campaign people, listening to the dueling conference calls and looking at the emails. It's clear to me that the Clinton people aren't going to back down. As you saw, they sent Maggie Williams out with a statement to defend Geraldine Ferraro, who was defending herself. So this is the fight the Clintons want, the way they want to fight it.
So the senator wants a clearly racist, clearly equal opportunity is not a good thing, and that's the only reason he's here kind of statement interjected into the campaign. It's not just somebody not judging a negative reaction to something. This reaction right now is intentional.
Well, I don't know if they. I doubt that they sent Jerry Ferraro out to say what she said.
Indeed.
And you know, Jerry Ferraro I've covered for a long time, and the ironies are piled on ironies. This is a woman who broke the ceiling of her own in '84, and here she is saying this. But based on the way the Clinton campaign has reacted in the last few hours, as you pointed out, and based on my own conversations with them, they're defending her, they're defending this, and this, therefore, is their strategy.
I'm sorry to sound speechless, but it seems remarkable to me that a campaign being run in the 21st century, or even in the second half of the 20th century, would allow itself to be associated in any kind of way and not step back. If it was two African Americans running against each other, and one of them had somebody say this on behalf of their candidate, that the other guy's only in there because he's equal opportunity, or there's been some sort of quota system, or that he's a black man, does it not have disaster written all over it, or are we living in South Africa?
Well, I would think so, in part because it was just a dumb remark. I mean, all of us, I'm sure, and let me say in advance, I'm being facetious here, have long observed all the advantages that African-American men have in American society.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Obama said it was absurd. Of course it's absurd. And it's, to many people, outrageous. But I think the Clinton people have gotten themselves in such a frame of mind of combat that it's possible that they can't see what's happening to their own campaign in some ways. And they're mistaking combativeness and feistiness for possible disaster. Now, Mississippi's come and gone, and we're heading into 6 weeks of Pennsylvania. And it's said by others, including James Carville, a Democrat who used to work for the Clintons, that Pennsylvania is Pittsburgh and Philadelphia with Alabama in between. And white Alabama, not black Alabama. So, you know, you may draw your own conclusions about why the Clinton people feel they can back up Jerry Ferraro at this moment.
Wow. But is there any escaping this, that this would be an exact match to somebody having said in the 1984 Reagan campaign against Mondale, if Geraldine Ferraro was a man, she would not be in this position, or some hypothetical Obama fundraiser or speechmaker saying today, if Senator Clinton was a man, she would not be in this position. She happens to be very lucky to be who she is. Is it not that stark?
It's exactly parallel in many ways. Hillary was married to Bill. That's what got her start in electoral politics, there's no doubt. Jerry Ferraro got where she was in '84 because she was a woman, because having covered the Congress at that time, I can tell you she would not have been in a leadership position around Tip O'Neill, the then Democratic Speaker, had it not been for the fact that she was a woman. She was an affirmative action hire, if you will, in the Democratic leadership. So the ironies are piled on ironies, but people in the middle of a campaign forget all about history, forget about the ironies, and it seems to me that the Clinton people are daring Obama to keep up his complaints about this remark. They're daring him to do it because they're not firing Jerry Ferraro from her role in the Finance Committee. They're defending her. They're sending out the African-American campaign manager of their campaign, newly appointed African-American campaign manager Maggie Williams, to, in essence, not so subtly, accuse the Obama campaign of waving the bloody shirt of race. They're trying to throw the accusation back at Obama. It's daring, it's risky, it's cynical, but that's where things are at this stage in the campaign heading into Pennsylvania.
Well, I won't add to that list. I think it speaks for itself. Extraordinary, and it just gets worse the more you look at it. Howard Fineman of Newsweek and MSNBC, great thanks for this latest insight on this.
Okay, thank you, Keith.